Good afternoon, class. My name is Major Nathan Blair, and I'll be walking through the steps of our approach for our class with you based upon what I had. So sharing this screen with you, you can see that we have goals, conditions, and lines of efforts set forward. And for this scenario, our goal is freedom of navigation through the Strait of Hormuz for commercial and military assets. So I am a joint planner for SOCPAC, Special Operations Command Pacific. And so this actual screen that you see in front of you is what we utilize at the PACOM level for goals for some current situations that we have going on within our AOR. So as we go forward, just keep in mind as well that when we talk about domains and lines of effort, domain does not necessarily mean service. So air and maritime have a lot of overlap between Air Force and Navy assets. So we'll get to that here in a few. So as mentioned before, our main goal is for freedom of navigation through the Strait of Hormuz. And the conditions that must be met to achieve that goal is degradation of Iranian government legitimacy, Iranian military forces neutralized, and demilitarization of Iranian forces in the islands of the Strait. In today's warfare, the bombing and total destruction of enemy forces is not necessarily the way to victory, as deemed necessary by most of our other enemies that we have within our AOR. The overthrow of enemy governments and the degradation of government legitimacy is a key to setting victory conditions. And this would be no different, and especially in a country like Iran that has a lot of state-run media outlets and a lot of propaganda. So to get those people to turn against their government is a key to our victory. Moving over to lines of effort by domain. So first and foremost, this is structured, as I mentioned before, based upon PACOM's kind of ideals for priorities in lines of effort. Granted, this is always going to flex depending upon the AOR, but this is based upon my experience. So first and foremost would be eliminate or disable enemy forces. And this is more projection of enemy forces, so their offensive capabilities. And this would be a three-tiered approach across all domains of air, land, and maritime. The next is destroy A2AD networks. So believe it or not, this is an air and maritime asset, especially for approach, especially for a country like Iran that has a lot of surface, have a lot of coastal defenses. So Navy assets using maritime attack on A2AD networks such as Tomahawk cruise missiles to knock out those networks is critical. Air superiority. So obviously this is strictly an air domain. However, the Navy does play a massive role in air superiority. Provision of ISR. So we share a cyber and air asset on this. So traditional air for recording, data gathering, data interception, and cyber as well. Gathering intel based upon communication networks is vital in today's military conflict. Destruction of C2. So this is a destruction of C2 is kind of a two-phased approach. First, this was going to start with a cyber attack. If we want to keep infrastructure and don't want to create collateral damage, C2 hacking and jamming of C2 enemy capabilities is vital. And then we can always back that up Desert Storm style and bring in the B2s to destroy their C2 nodes. Next is just disrupt communications. So this in today's military engagements now, this is mostly going to be cyber and as well as space, the space domain. So jamming of network capabilities as well as their ability to do GPS or anything like that via their satellites is critical for us to cut off. Next is freedom of movement, and by freedom of movement, I mean friendly military forces. So at this phase in conflict, you're looking at having to resupply, restock, rearm, and having air and maritime support vessels to come in behind conflict without the worry of being shot down or sunk is vital. Next is counterintelligence. So as I mentioned before, with degradation of Iranian government legitimacy, using cyber to basically take out and counter any propaganda that Iran is facing about the United States being the aggressor, or whatever reason that they're giving for conflict. Providing counterintelligence and working against their government and spinning the people to favor American involvement is critical. Next is disruption of infrastructure. So again, like Desert Storm, we don't want to go and blow stuff up, because then we have to go in and rebuild it. So the jamming and hacking and shutting down remotely of things like power plants or water supplies to the Iranian government or the Iranian military forces or people, instead of blowing it up, is a quicker and more efficient way for victory, and a more efficient way of reestablishing good relationships post-conflict. Next is ensuring commercial movement. And so in this situation, this is strictly maritime, as the Strait of Hormuz is basically the major artery providing oil to the West and its allies, ensuring that commercial vehicles can go in and out of through the strait without danger is one of the main goals for victory. And then last, I have empowering land allied forces. So as we've seen in recent history, the air and maritime assets of our allies isn't necessarily the strongest, especially regionally, but their land components provide a lot of support. So using our land forces to help facilitate our allied in the region to achieve victory is also important. Look forward to hearing your inputs. Thank you and have a good day.